Describe yourself in 3 words. My daughter answered it this way. I am a rebel. 4 words, right? And I think that's exactly what I want you to become today, are rebels. Because what I've done, and I kind of sat here and I listened to many of you, I've interviewed many of you to learn about your industry and learn what's going on. Who here is under 25 years old? Nobody. And that concerns me, because you're not attracting young people. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about how to become disruptive. Let me tell you a little about me, who I am. So this is me in 1996 in Joliet, Illinois. I created the concept of streaming the internet, or streaming a radio show over the internet. That was the first. And from there, I ended up creating what today is called the podcast. So I'm the father of the podcast. If you listen to podcasts, I'm that guy who did it. I was also the first ever streamer over the internet. And I had a chance to work with some amazing people. I was part of AudioNet that became Broadcast.com, worked with Mark Cuban, and I've traveled the world really looking at where disruptive technologies are occurring. I've been around the planet 4 times already this year. So I'm hanging out with you, and I'm gonna tell you some different stories from different parts of the world. And I'm a talk show host. So my last radio show was on about 213 radio stations, number 9 in the country. My new show that I'm launching is called Voice of Disruption, and it's all around disruptive technologies, disruptive innovations, and including disrupting myself. Let me give you an example. I'm over here at the USC's Center for Neurological Brain Studies, and I decided I want to disrupt my brain. So I went through this whole idea of measuring my brain to understand what's going on out there, and there's these new technologies that re-trigger different parts of your brain as you get older, or as individuals have autism or have had strokes, that get the brain to become more effective and efficient. So this is me actually sitting here going through this.
All right, let's do it again. Zap me.
Here we go.
Oh, I love it.
No, I didn't. Shocks of electricity and magnetism that hits my brain. My IQ went up 15 points in 2 weeks by doing this. It's a real brain treatment center, and watch what's going on. But the whole idea is I want to disrupt everything. I want to see what's going on with disruption, body, mind, planet, you name it. And I'm going to talk about some of those disruptions. I also have a group called Metal Media Entertainment Technology Alpha Leaders. And what I do is I kind of like run a TED group every week. Get about 300 people together. These are some of the speakers. And we do incredible things together. We have 2,200 members. And last year, we had about $3.5 billion in deal flow amongst ourselves last year alone. It's a Southern California thing. And you can kind of see what it looks like. There's General Wesley Clark. Here we're talking about Bitcoin. I have artists perform. It's a pretty cool group. And also something that we do on a regular basis every single Sunday is hikes. I believe that it's not about being inside something like this, it's about being out there. And it's a great way to communicate. And in most cases, our cell phones don't work. We're not looking down and texting one another, we're talking to one another. So every single Sunday, about 50 to 100 of us go hiking, and I pick a different location every single week. Now, I started these hikes about 5 years ago. I had no idea how amazing LA was until I started these. So I'll give you some information later on how you can be part of it. Matter of fact, this is from American Express. They do a publication called Open, and they said that my hikes in the United States are one of the most important things to do if you're an entrepreneur, which I thought was kind of cool. Third party did that. So I'm what's called a super connector. My job is to find out why you two should talk, or where the opportunity is between the 4 of you and the 3 of you. And I bring people together. I kind of, almost in a Rain Man style, see why people need to know one another. That's what I do on a regular basis. It's inherent. I'm somewhat of an outlier on that. So before I dive into this, I just want to ask a couple of questions. First one is, who feels their job is perfect for them? Who's lying with their hand up? Okay. Who feels kind of complacent in their job? They're kind of like maybe in that rut, kind of bored? Really? There you go. I love the truthful people over here. Who wishes their job can get a little more exciting? Real? That's it? Who wishes their marriage could be a little more exciting? Same hands go up. Okay, got it. I want you to realize that there is an interesting time that's happening right now. There is more information that's passing amongst us than ever before. before CNN, we had a 1-week news cycle. So if something came out on a Monday, and if it was a big story, it would continue to be part of the news cycle to potentially being on 60 Minutes on Sunday. We went to a 1-week news cycle to when CNN was there in Baghdad with Wolf Blitzer, and it turned into the 24-hour news network, is what CNN did. And then when Google News came out, we turned into basically a 4 to 6 hour news cycle, and now we're a 3-hour news cycle, where news changes every 3 hours. That's why we're looking down. We've never had this much information hit us so fast. I'm going to talk about where technology, innovation, and new ideas are affecting us, okay? So here's an interesting question. Are you an astronomer or are you an astronaut? Now let me explain the difference. This is somebody that looks at the stars in a safe environment. This is somebody that might go to the moon, might blow up going to the moon, may not come back, but they get to go there. Who's an astronomer? Be honest. Who doesn't have arms? Who can't raise them? Who's an astronomer? Who's an astronaut? Okay, I'm going to try to get as many of you to be astronauts. Okay, because that is our society today. It's all around failing fast, recovering, and going after the next opportunity. And it doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter, because we're all about disrupting ourselves and disruption. That's what's going on. Let me give you an example. I love this term, a moonshot. Kennedy kind of coined it, right?
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills.
That's it. It's about going to the moon. And we did it. We really did, by the way, if there's any doubters out here. We really did go to the moon. We went to the moon. We needed to go to the moon. And things like Tang and Velcro were invented because of it. No, a lot of great things came because of the space program. And we're continuing with the space program. But this idea of getting to what would be impossible, we call a moonshot. And there's a lot of companies out there that are really focusing on this moonshot idea. X Prize, Southern California company. Okay, and maybe you may have even heard of X. This is Google X. It's run by this guy right here. His name is Astro Teller. Is that the coolest porn name ever? Right? Astro Teller runs this idea called a Moonshot Factory.
Great dreams aren't just visions. They're visions coupled to strategies for making them real. I have the incredible good fortune to work at a Moonshot Factory. At X, formerly called Google X, you'll find an aerospace engineer working alongside a fashion designer and former military ops commanders brainstorming with laser experts. These inventors, engineers, and makers are dreaming up technologies that we hope can make the world a wonderful place. We use the word moonshots to remind us to keep our visions big, to keep dreaming. And we use the word factory to remind ourselves that we want to have concrete visions, concrete plans to make them real.
This kind of came out of the whole alphabet idea, because Google realized it can't stay a search engine for much longer. It has to be more. So they broke up into 24 different companies, and X is probably the most creative of all those companies. They're coming out with some amazing things. It looks like this. This is their laboratory. It's a fun, cool location. They have a Google X in Mountain View. They have one down in Venice. They're going to pop these all over the place. But this idea of being disruptive, that was the purpose of having their lab, their Google X. So when we talk about moonshot, let's talk about your moonshot, okay? Yours. I want to talk about this guy right here. Does anybody know who this is? Looks like an old uncle, right? An uncle that you had, black and white picture. You go, who is this? Very interesting person. At the age of 47, he was homeless living in his car. That's right. No, it's not. But it is. You're close, because that's Paul Mitchell next to him. This is John Paul DeGioia, JP. I've been working with JP for a while, for the last couple of years, but understand, at 47, he was somebody you probably would never talk to. He was on the streets, he was homeless. At 50 is when he really got his life going. He met this guy right here because he was cleaning his beauty salon over in Sherman Oaks. Started selling his product, realized he could sell the product. They turned it into a $2.5 billion industry, being Paul Mitchell. And then later on, he created another company called Patron, which is almost a $3 billion company. But remember, he got his life going at 50. At 50. Just to give you a sample, this is Paul.
There were a couple of times in my life when I was homeless. One was in my early 20s with a 2.5-year-old son, and we had to survive, we had to exist. I went around collecting soda pop bottles from vacant lots, and little by little we got ourselves out of it. When I started John Paul Mitchell Systems, I had a few $100 in my pocket. I actually lived in my car for the first couple of weeks, and that $700 went a long, long way. So what does it take to really succeed? The best advice I could give is, number one, be prepared for a lot of rejection. If you're ready for rejection, if people say, no, I don't want it, no, it's not going to work, no, this is crazy, whatever, if you're prepared for it, it's not going to let you down. Learn from your failures. I had a lot of failures along the way, even with my patron and Paul Mitchell, but we learn from those things and we get a lot better. When you talk about success in life, success is having the highest quality, something good, whether it's a service or a product. If you make it worse or not as good as time goes on and make more money, you're not successful. That's why Patron has become a booming success. We don't skimp on cost, but that's what keeps it perfect. Successful people do all the things that unsuccessful people don't want to do. And if you have to work Saturdays and Sundays or late at night or get up early in the morning, just do it. I have 2 credit cards in there. I have one for Paul Mitchell. And of course, this one here, Patron Spirits. I don't have any money in my wallet, but I think I've got $40 in my pocket. And I'd like to say to everybody out there, remember, the real secret to making things work is peace, love, and happiness, and the world will become a better place, I promise you.
So I love this guy. I met him 7 years ago, and about 3 years ago, I own a small production company. I pitched him the idea of, why don't we make a movie about you? And I'm going to show you our trailer for the movie. This is going to be the first time seeing it. This is the movie that we've done with Paul Mitchell, or excuse me, with John Paul DeJoria, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. Here's the trailer.
I grew up in downtown Los Angeles.
I honestly believe that John Paul didn't know he wasn't Mexican until he was about 15.
My father left before I was 2 years old. The state stepped in, found a foster home for us. My mother did not want to let loose, but she had no choice. It was some tough days. I've been homeless twice in my life. I lived in my car, learned how to eat off 99 cents. My friend said, I got an extra room for you, and it was around a biker community, the Hells Angels, and they were some mean mother dudes.
To get out of that, then you got to dig into yourself. John Paul did it with work.
It was door-to-door sales. I sold dictating equipment. I sold photocopy machines. I sold life insurance. I sold so much stuff.
He's struggling, and what happens? He meets Paul, and they birth Paul Mitchell.
Paul Mitchell was going broke. I said, Paul, you got to know how to sell. Let's start a company.
It's a black and white bottle because that's all they could afford.
I had 30 days to pay the bill for the bottles. I sold. In the 80s, it took off. We made it. 1989, going down to Mexico, and it was the smoothest tequila I ever had.
He goes, whatever it is, I want in. So now we have the product. We have no clue how the industry works.
I went knocking door to door.
He said, have you ever tried Patron tequila? And I said, I don't really drink tequila because I had a bad experience once with the Technicolor Mule in Tijuana.
Wouldn't it be wild if this became like the biggest selling tequila in the world?
JP always looks at any project with a philanthropic attitude.
You can do well for yourself by doing good things for other people.
Warning, quit poaching whales.
He walks
walks out in front of the spears.
You got your first $500,000, okay?
They're out there to do something good to save this planet for future generations.
I've learned more in 1 year working with John Paul DeJoria than I've learned in my whole entire life.
You can build a pile, but then you give it away. By giving it away, you make your pile bigger.
A lot of people forget their beginnings, but he seems very connected with them. And I think a lot of his desire to make a difference in the world comes from that.
Success unshared is failure. I'm gonna hug this.
Comes out in May, the movie, so Good Fortune. Pretty cool, right? At least I think it is. Local LA person who literally started life at 50. Started it because he disrupted himself. He knew that those moonshots were possible. He found a way to believe in himself. Now, do you have to be smart to have these type of moonshots? This is interesting. So because I don't think you do. You don't have to be smart at all. Matter of fact, does anybody know any of these people? Anybody? These are the highest IQ people in the world. So here's their IQ. These are authentic, real IQs. And what's interesting is the type of jobs. What kind of jobs they have? Well, they work either for academia or they work for space programs. That's what they do. For example, this person right here, weird picture here, he is the highest IQ billionaire. Being the highest, the highest IQ billionaire. It's Paul Allen. He's got a 170 IQ. He's the co-founder of Microsoft with Bill Gates. So I want you to think about this. Let's take Terrence, who's the highest IQ person. Let's put him on a chart. Let's look at a chart real quick. And there's Terrence, who'll be right there at the top. Here's Mr. Paul Allen, whose IQ is equal to Stephen Hawking's and Einstein. Okay? Then let's go down a little lower, and let's go look at John F. Kennedy, who I mentioned earlier, who's got a 117 IQ. Let's go to Howard Stern, who has a 99 IQ, and Richard Branson is 91 IQ. Tested, by the way. Very interesting. So if you look at this group, and you look at this group, right here, your fear risk group. Generally, really high IQ people fear risk. Down here, this is the risk zone. So up here, your operations. Down here, you have your leaders. I always love the old saying, the A's and B's will work for the C's and D's. The A's and B's will work for the C's and D's. And a lot of people go, God, I can't stand these people because they take all the risk. They don't think it out at times. They just jump in. They do it. So let's talk more about your moonshots. It's all around the idea of being disruptive. Anybody know who this is? Who said that? Who said it? You're right. Peter who? Peter Diamandis. Peter's a great guy. I've known Peter for a while. Peter runs, of course, Singularity University with Ray Kurzweil, and he runs the X Prize. And Peter recently gave a talk all around the idea of disruption. Just listen to what he has to say.
This is where we're going. We're going to an age where linear companies, the old way of thinking, is being displaced by innovation and exponential companies. And for those of you who know Kodak's slogan, I've given this a name. I call this the new Kodak moment. So here are some of the numbers. Why innovation is so critical. Because in the next 10 years, 40% of the Fortune 500 companies will no longer exist. They will go the way of Kodak. Put a different way, if you look at this, this is from Professor Foster at Yale. If you started a company in the 1920s, you had a 67-year runway. You could start a company and for 67 years run that company, knowing full well you had it for the rest of your life. Today, if you start a company, the average life of an S&P 500 company is reduced down to 15 years. MySpace gets replaced by Facebook, gets replaced by Google+. The rate of innovation and disruption is skyrocketing. The rule is, if you do not disrupt yourself, someone else will. That's the world we're living in today, where a young team of innovators and entrepreneurs can do what only governments and the largest corporations could do before.
That's important. You know, let's echo those words. Someone else will. You got to disrupt yourself, like John Paul DeJoria did. He disrupted himself. You have to do this on a regular basis. You know, the people that raise their hands saying, I wish I had a little more excitement in their job. That's great. Are you making that excitement? Because I want to show you where some of these things are happening, these trends. So like to me, let me go back to that. I want to go back one more. I didn't mean to jump through that slide. Hopefully I did it again. Did I? I did. To me, these are the most disruptive people that have lived on the planet over the last several decades. You probably can name all of them except the one that you saw pop up. And I wanted to talk about this person because this person is going to lead us to this person, and it's going to lead us to this person. So this person right here, he changed all of your lives. Every one of you have been affected by this person. His name is Nolan Bushnell. He created Atari, Chuck E. Cheese, in-car navigation, home robotics. Guy's incredible, 74 years old. He's always disrupting himself. A good friend of mine told him to come to this event, and I go, hey, Nolan, what is disruption?
Disruption essentially says that you have to do things different than you did 10 years ago, and probably different again 10 years from now. The question shouldn't be if disruption, it's when disruption. And when disruption comes, if you are forced to change, you're behind the eight ball. If you offer change early, you're the winner.
Yeah, it's important. Offer change earlier. In your industry, I personally think you need a lot of change because I asked earlier who here is 25 and under. There isn't anyone. Because they're looking for that change. They're looking for that excitement. So let's look at some brands out there. You probably know many of these brands. A few of them have disappeared. Many of them are still here. Very disruptive brands. You know, Napster was incredibly disruptive what it did. Fortunately, it couldn't fight the legal battles it was going after. But let's go look at this right here. These brands. How do you compete against one another? I mean, it's probably pretty easy to compete against the US Post Office, but UPS and FedEx had to disrupt themselves somehow to become competitive. I want you to look at UPS for a second. UPS has some of the most deep analytics around logistics than any other company on the planet. Next would be Uber, believe it or not. But what they did is they figured, hey, how do we become more creative than our competition? We need to disrupt ourselves. So they went and dove deep, and they figured out, we don't need to turn left. The less we turn left, the better it is for us. Now, what does that mean? It translates to this. They save 10 million gallons of gas and reduce their emissions to the equivalent of 5,300 cars on the road a year by not turning left. So when they do their route every single day, it shows the entire right course. Watch your next UPS truck. Small little disruption made a big impact. So even the idea of not turning left made a difference. You in your office can do the same thing. Small little disruptions. UPS. So disruptive technology. I'm going to show you a few different ones out there. I wanted to, since we are talking about medicine, I wanted to talk about something that's really, really hot right now. Everything I'm going to show you right now is all based in Southern California. And all these companies I've been working with or involved with, and I know where they're heading because they're very disruptive. So first I want to show you this. Got a little field mouse, naked mole rat, which would suck to be, right, and a brant rat. Now what's interesting is basically the same gene styles. Here's your 3-year-old mole. This is the average age of the field mouse. Mole rat, look at that, bat 41 years. Why? What's going on here? Or if you look at these two different types of clams, one lives 40 years, the other one lives 500 years. Why? Well, Jeff Bezos at Amazon asked this question too, and he found a company was diving deep into what's going on with these different types of animals and why one lives longer than another. And this company called Unity, based up in Northern California and down here, they've been diving deep into this, Unity. And like I said, Jeff Bezos has gotten involved. This company so far has raised a pretty big number, $116 million. They just closed another round. What are they doing? So since we're all kind of in the medical profession, I wanted to give you a little sample of what they're working on because they're becoming incredibly disruptive.
But I'm just going to just tease you guys with a little project we've been working on. It's a new company we built called Unity. It works on a particular piece of biology, one kind of portion of that map. And we ask a deceptively simple question with this piece of biology, which is, how come when we get older we get sicker? Well, we are not deluded or crazy enough to believe we know all the reasons why this happens. But we think we know one. And it's this. This is you at conception. You're a single cell. You divide. In fact, you divide a bunch of times, ultimately about 50 times, at which point there's an emergency brake in every cell in your body that gets pulled, and cells stop dividing forever. Now, cells that pull this emergency brake are said to be senescent cells. Now, this is a super important emergency brake you need to be able to pull. This is an anti-cancer system. And you can imagine that if cells divide too much, sounds kind of like a cancer. And so this system exists to block cancer. Now, that's well and good. The issue, however, is as you age and more of these cells have pulled this emergency brake, they begin to accumulate in your body. So my son here, who's 7, has no detectable senescent cells, whereas my stepfather at the time of his death, when he was 87, was full of these cells. Now, before our work, no one really knew if these cells were good for you, bad for you, or neither. And so what we did in collaboration with groups at the Mayo Clinic and the Buck Institute is we created mice where we could clear senescent cells whenever we wanted. And we got to ask, what happens? Well, this is what happens. So these mice are siblings. They're also genetically nearly identical. So as siblings, they were born within seconds of each other. This one on the left is blind. It's got osteoarthritis, and it's frail, and it's got kidney dysfunction. This one on the right has none of these problems, and it lives 30% longer. And to give you a sense of the age of these animals are about 70 years old, assuming you were a mouse, or assuming that mouse was you. We're making drugs that do that, and that's cool. So I'm going to tease you guys with just one cool thing that happens when we clear these cells, in addition to just making a mouse that seems to look young and live longer. I'm going to show you guys an interesting phenotype. Or a phenotype's sort of a thing which animals show you. It's like either a behavior or how they look or how something functions. You guys probably know that as humans age and as animals age, they don't move around as much. Well, it's true in mice. And so what we did is we did an experiment where we could record mice running around in a little box for 15 minutes, and we would record them running around with a camera. So you see this pink line? That's a little young mouse running around. That's 15 minutes of mouse running. So it makes kind of sense. That's what a mouse kind of does, okay? Now, what happens is that's a young mouse. An old mouse, that's 15 minutes of an old mouse running around. You guys see the difference? There's less pink, and for some reason that we don't understand, the old mouse likes the edge, whereas the young mouse is willing to run around the center. And so we did the experiment where we cleared out these cells, and we asked what happens. Well, the first thing that happens is that when you clear out these cells, the animals, as they age, basically wind up running around 3 times more. They basically run around like a youthful animal. But what kind of blows my mind is they're willing to go into the center of the cage. We have no idea why. Is this something they feel internally? It's hard to ask a mouse these questions. Their English is terrible. Anyway, that's just sort of a teaser on what we're working on. Our plan is to try to be in humans in the next 2 years.
So that was last year. So another year and a half. But this is disruptive. This is taking things on the edge. By the way, the majority of his team are not even in the medical industry. They're not. That blows my mind even more. And the majority of his team is under 27 years old. Company's raised, like I said, over 120 million. Now, I was really surprised. Who here does not know what CRISPR is? Does not. Be honest, does not know. Okay. To me, CRISPR is one of the biggest developments in medicine in the last maybe 25 years. Do you agree with me? Yeah? Okay, good. 25 years. This is what CRISPR, here's a little basic overview.
Now to this story, revolutionary technology that can edit genetic mistakes is getting attention and scrutiny this morning. CRISPR could help rid us of diseases like cystic fibrosis, muscular dystrophy, and even HIV and cancer. Think about that. But many scientists, including CRISPR's developer, Jennifer Doudna, are calling for a moratorium on its use in humans. Tomorrow, she holds a global summit on the ethical issues, and only on CBS This Morning, Doudna shows us why, for all its promise, CRISPR is surrounded by controversy.
And what is CRISPR?
CRISPR, first of all, it's an acronym. It stands for Clustered Regularly Interspaced Short Palindromic Repeats, a huge mouthful. You can see why we use the acronym CRISPR.
So I'm sorry, what's CRISPR again?
Geneticist Jennifer Doudna gets asked that question a lot. A researcher and professor at UC Berkeley, Doudna has become a spokesperson for a gene editing technology she's credited with developing. That mouthful known as CRISPR.
I've heard it compared to essentially like a film editor, slicing a bit of film.
I would say that's a great analogy, yeah.
How does that work then?
Well, think about a film strip, you know, and you see a particular segment of the film that you want to replace. And if you had a film splicer, you would go in and literally cut it out and piece it back together, maybe with a new clip. Imagine being able to do that in the genetic code, the code of life. You could go in and snip out a piece and replace it with something that corrects a mutation that would cause disease.
That's incredible.
It's incredible.
CRISPR has generated immense excitement because it's fast, cheap, and can cut and paste genetic code with great precision. It used to take months or years to alter a single gene. Now, that can be done in a matter of days.
Could it end cancer?
What I'm excited about there is the potential to use the CRISPR technology to program a patient's immune system to recognize tumor cells in a precise way.
Could it cure, at some point, virtually any disease?
I don't know about any disease, but I think any disease that has a genetic basis is something that could be treated using the CRISPR technology. This is no longer science fiction.
But alongside CRISPR's promise come some fears of its perils, like embryo editing that could lead to designer babies. In April, Chinese scientists reported using CRISPR to edit the diseased genomes of human embryos for the first time. The experiment was a failure.
Yeah, well, that was the past. That was the past, and the experiments actually we're starting to see. First, sickle cell. They feel that they can totally remove sickle cell anemia within the next year, which is pretty cool. And China is actually they're not just fighting cancer, but they're actually doing embryo modification in several babies that have lived. So there's a very interesting negative side, but a very huge positive side too. CRISPR is come to a point to where there's super hot CRISPR companies that I want you to pay attention to. The reason why I bring this up is this. If you got involved in Bitcoin, I got involved way back here in 2011. Bitcoin was 84 cents. Now it's around $1,021. Okay? And everyone goes, oh, damn, I wish I got involved. Well, if you were involved last year with Ethereum, which is a cryptocurrency, when it was about $9, today it's about $56. This is only within 1 year. I think CRISPR companies are like what Bitcoin companies are. These are the hot CRISPR companies, the ones that are doing genetically modified design and tools. These are some of the most disruptive companies that most people don't know about, like Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies. Now, I want you to pay attention to these. These are very disruptive, very volatile too. But pay attention. Some of them are fairly inexpensive. $16, $21. You see that one over there is $20. Here's $13. Like what Bitcoin was. But this is where innovation is in this space too. By the way, I'm really also into, I'll get to, hang on, Nolan, hang on. I'll get also the whole CRISPR idea they're doing with mosquitoes, where mosquitoes won't procreate after a while. And they can use CRISPR to get rid of mosquitoes. So we could see the end of malaria, the end of dengue fever, the end of Zika, all around CRISPR. Back to Nolan. Hey, Nolan, you okay? So I was with Nolan, this is last year before I got my blonde hair, and we were at this event for the Hyperloop. And I'll explain the Hyperloop a little later on. And Nolan was given this keynote talk, and Nolan said something I thought was interesting. The future is all about growing all of our food, including meat. Meat will be grown like plants, not animals. What? That's pretty disruptive. So there's companies now that are all around disrupting our food. Food disruption. You got one right here. Matter of fact, if you notice, Manhattan Beach. It's pretty cool. Beyond Meat. There's a New York company over here. I want to show you what they're doing. It's pretty amazing, the idea of, anyone here a vegetarian? Hi, vegetarians. I just want to say I kind of go back and forth. All your fake meat, I hate to tell you, does not taste like the real meat. It just doesn't. They go, oh, it tastes like chicken. No, it doesn't. You haven't had chicken in a long time. But eventually, you're going to be able to get that. And if you've had Beyond Meat, they sell at Whole Foods, it really does taste like meat. This is where it's going.
My name is Uma Voletti. I am the CEO of Memphis Meats. We started Memphis Meats to make eating meat delicious, safe, and healthy for everyone. We have had this technical breakthrough of using real meat cells to grow meat, the meatball that changed the world. There is not enough resources to feed a growing world's population. The greenhouse gas emissions from our process is 90% less than what traditional animal agriculture would cause. So today, what we are doing is something that we've been working on for the last 2 to 3 weeks, and we farmed meat cells from beef. We brought it over to the kitchen along with our team, and we also had a specialty chef named Dave Anderson. What we asked him to do is to recreate the experience of a meatball. He took the meat that we grew, he used a recipe, Italian meatball recipe, and created a beautiful meatball, and we watched him cook it. We watched how the meatball reacted when it was put in a pan. We heard the sizzle, we smelled the meat that was being cooked, and it was exactly what you would expect a beef meatball to smell like.
It tastes like a meatball.
And she's not a vegan.
It's good.
You know, this is the first time a meatball has ever been cooked with beef cells that did not require a cow to be slaughtered. So, you know, this is a big and momentous occasion for us, and given that it tasted exactly like beef, it's one of the historic moments in the history of our company, and I'm glad you're here to capture it.
Yeah, Memphis Meats is another one of these companies that's doing this, disrupting food. So we've talked about disrupting, well, John Paul DeJoria disrupted himself. We've talked about our DNA, aging, meat. What else can we talk about? I want to talk about this guy. His name is Bebop. That's his name, Bebop. And Bebop is somebody that's about to change our future. He's an Italian. He was kind of like the Ryan Seacrest of Italy. He had 6 TV shows on MTV Europe. He lives in Los Angeles, and he is one of the founders of the Hyperloop. The Hyperloop. So the Hyperloop is something that can transport us Mach 1, which is the speed of sound. It could actually go up to Mach 3 comfortably without hitting any serious G-forces. It's about what it feels like taking off on a plane, and then once you got that sensation gone, it's just like normal transportation. Besides making the technology, they use crowdsourcing to get some of the smartest people together to build a company before having actual employees. This is what the Hyperloop is.
I have a name for it, which is called the Hyperloop. So what's Hyperloop? Mr. Musk's plan: move people using a massive vacuum tube combined with a magnetic levitation system. Kind of like a Jetsons tunnel. It's something like that, yeah.
Traveling by Hyperloop. It's going to be the future. They're making this.
Imagine a capsule filled with people.
You put this capsule inside the tube.
You create a low-pressure environment inside the tube.
So you have no resistance.
And it's moving very fast from point A to point B. So the capsule, very similar to an airplane that goes in high altitudes, can travel really fast with very little energy.
Is the main trick to it the vacuum and the fact that there's no friction? Is that the main reason why it makes it so fast?
Tesla founder Elon Musk proposed this new technology called Hyperloop, and it's being developed right now in Playa Vista, here in this hangar behind me. Company Hyperloop has teamed up with the students to create this tube technology.
So when Elon published the document, he just drafted a possible way to achieve this. 2 months later, my business partner, Dirk Alborn, a genius German entrepreneur, took this document, published in our website, the Jumpstart Found, and did a call to action.
There was a great project, a great idea, And Elon actually said he wanted someone else to take it on. He wanted a community to make this happen.
It's the first company that used crowdsourcing to solve one of the biggest problems of humanity, that is transportation. They have to work at least 10 hours a week, and we give them in exchange one stock for every hour worked. And we have been like overwhelmed of requests from engineers from all over the planet. There were people from, NASA, Tesla, SpaceX, Boeing, MIT.
We want to give our community that's supporting us the possibility to own parts of the company.
So we are creating the biggest crowdsourcing project in the planet.
The company says it already has several potential investors and wants to take Hyperloop to China in the future.
Big headline of the day, Hyperloop's Chief Operating Officer Bipop Gresta, the transportation technology startup, believes that the Hyperloop will be cheaper than high-speed rail in the country. Take a look.
You have to consider that the Hyperloop is not a new idea. Humanity tried to build this system several times in the past. India has a very big problem on infrastructure.
The race is on. Elon Musk's vision for a high-speed passenger pods known as the Hyperloop is one step closer to becoming reality this morning. One of the known companies competing to capitalize on Musk's proposal, announcing today it has struck a deal with landowners in Central California to build the first full-scale Hyperloop along a 5-mile stretch along I-5.
Dirk, tell me about this deal and really when you expect this Hyperloop, this 5-mile stretch, to be finished.
Quay Valley is supposed to be breaking ground beginning of 2016.
We are able today to announce at the World Economic Forum the actual filing of the construction permit to the Kings County.
From dream to reality, the Hyperloop, the vacuum tube transport company that wants to connect San Francisco and Los Angeles at 760 miles.
There's a lot there. This is happening right in our backyard, and it's real. I've been to Indonesia, India, United Arab Emirates, Qatar with the Hyperloop team, and we'll start seeing the first real Hyperloops within the next 5 years in so many different countries. Next generation of transportation. By the way, Dirk drove Uber before he did this. He disrupted himself. Bebop couldn't get his money out of Italy, and he rode around on a bicycle. He was a strange millionaire who couldn't get his money out of his bank account in Europe, so he literally had no money. Those two got together, and they've raised almost $150 million for his Hyperloop. Disrupted themselves. So Akon, who's a performer artist, he's my business partner, and Akon, and I apologize, there's a little profanity in this, I went and took him over to Hyperloop to show a very simple technology on how we remove magnetism. And I wanted you to see how Akon experienced this for the very first time. Well, that's us last week in Indonesia. Here it is.
And this is a magnet, right?
It's a magnet. It's a neodymium magnet, and that's just aluminum pipe.
It's freaking aluminum. And this is behaving like it's impossible to behave, right?
What did it do?
Akon, what did it do? Explain it.
The shit just...
What did it do?
You would expect it to just fall to the bottom.
Yeah.
Or either cling to the side or something shit.
Yeah.
The shit just slowly, like in slow motion.
It hovers.
It's like in space.
It just hovers in space like it's not... Look at this shit.
It's happening without using electricity.
And there it goes down. Isn't that crazy?
Right?
This is nuts. I can be all day. No, you gotta take a... You gotta...
All right, go ahead. Oh, wait,
Yes.
I'm back. Ready? Wait, here it comes.
Okay.
Ready?
Can you see? Is it clear?
Yep, clear.
Now look at this shit. Look, look at this shit.
There it falls down.
That is crazy.
Right?
So what it's able to do is remove the north and south, so the magnet does not touch anything, and that's how it's going to propel through these tubes. So it can go literally frictionless through these tubes. Pretty amazing. Apologize again for the profanity. Next thing I want to show you, I want to talk about augmented reality. Who has not heard about augmented reality? It's so hot right now. Let me give you an idea. Just in the last 3 months, $170 million has been raised for startups in the last 3 months in augmented reality. $170 million. And I want to focus on something you've never heard of. It's the concept of the bottom of the pyramid. So this is, and you can see the population of the world, bottom of the pyramid have about $1,500 annually to spend. This is about 4.5 billion people. This is the largest section of the planet. How can AR, augmented reality, help them out? So the company I'm involved with out in Indonesia called We Indonesians Rock. This is what they're doing when it comes to augmented reality.
The CEO, co-founder, or founder? The co-founder of We're, one of the top of these guys over. Hey. And what are we about to see? We're about to see some really cool technology. What is this?
So this is the Alpha Mind, the Alpha Mind card. So for Mind stores. So basically, what you need is just to show your device. So this is what the mothers will...
right from the card?
Yes.
Right, so this is what we're getting right from the card, and as you move the device...
So they bring their own store with their name, and then you can just go enter, so it will loading.
So every card, by the way, represents an individual store, so they have their own inventory on that store. Yes. So as they hand out the card to somebody, this is what happens.
Basically, you can, it's a virtual. Yeah, so you can.
Just wanted to show you the concept. The concept is anyone like what Amway did a long, long time ago. People could have their own merchants. They could be their own stores in India and China, Indonesia, the bottom of the pyramid, and they can enable women. I was talking to Mohammed Yunus, who won the Nobel Prize for microlending, and his group called the Grameen Foundation makes microloans to women. And they would work together to give women loans to become merchants in their towns and become the next entrepreneurs in those areas. It's pretty amazing. I want to do a quick magic trick real quick, because everything I'm showing you is around the idea of where things are going to go. Everyone sees where the future is. Who knows cards real well? Anyone at this table? Cards? No one? You know cards? You do. Can you stand up? What is your name? Mark. Hey, Mark. So I'm going to ask you a question real quick. There are 4 suits, right? 4 suits. Of the 4, name 2. He said hearts and spades. Of hearts and spades, name 1. Hearts. Okay, hearts. Name the 3 top cards. King, queen, jack. A king, queen, jack. Name 2 of those. King and queen, name 1 of those. What's left? Queen of what? So you read my mind somehow. That's what I was thinking. That's Queen of Hearts, right? Yeah, Queen of Hearts. How did you do that? By me telling you where to go, right? Thank you, Mark. This is how these companies work. They want you to see where they see the future, and then they move us towards it. The Hyperloop, do they have a track that's going 700 miles an hour? No, not yet. But they get you, being investors and people that get excited about, to see that future, to move in that direction. Same thing with the life extension companies. All these companies do the same thing. They move you in the direction they want you to go so you can believe in their dream. That's what an entrepreneur does, by the way. They help you see their dream and their vision, and they align you behind it. They get you excited about it. Okay? You need to know where you want to go, and you'll take them there then too. One more disruptor. I love this disruptor. It's a personal disruptor. Does anybody know who Ashley is? She is probably one of the most disruptive women I've ever personally met. Let me tell you why. She's a curvy woman, and she made the cover of Sports Illustrated.
I like to think that I'm not trying to be a disruptor. I actually think that I am disrupting the industry.
Good answer.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. I've been modeling for 15 years. I've been considered a plus-size model for the last 15 years.
You started when you were 12 years old?
I was 12 years old. I was 5'9".
Plus size then?
I was 5'9", and I was a size 12, believe it or not. I was breaking hearts left and right. And I've really been trying to chop down this tree for so long, and now finally people are hearing me because I'm using my body to let other women know that imperfections are okay, that cellulite, rolls, curves, all of it, the things that jiggle that shouldn't be jiggling, it's okay. And I think what really helped me was a lot of people telling me no, because I've always kind of been a little bit of a rebel. My parents have told me no, I've had agents tell me no, and I've taken all of those no's and turned them into yeses, and I've done exactly what I've wanted to do. I was told I was never going to be on the cover of any magazine, let alone in the inside, and I did 5 covers alone last year, and I was in the pages of Sports Illustrated as one of the first curvy models. So I didn't let anybody just take down what I had been told for so long, and I think that that's something that's really important about being a disruptor in any industry.
She said 2 things that were interesting. First, what John Paul DeJoria said, rejection. She heard no, 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 and my daughter, be a rebel, right? Be a rebel. She's definitely a rebel. Bunch of Steve Jobs movies. I'm going to pick just one of them, that one right there. Ashton Kutcher on one side. That guy on the other side, I'll tell you who that is in a minute.
I really do. Something's got to change.
Give me my own project.
What?
Give me my own project. I'll do it on my own. And I'll make the best damn game that you have ever seen.
You're serious? Okay, Steve.
Okay, so these 2 people, that's Steve Jobs, that's Nolan Bushnell, and that game that he made was Breakout. If you played Atari, remember Breakout? Steve Jobs made that game. That was the only job Steve Jobs had next to his own 2 companies, next to Apple. Nolan Bushnell really helped create Steve Jobs. He actually wrote a book called Finding the Next Steve, all around how do you identify the next Steve Jobs in our own businesses, our own industries. How do you do that? So what I'm going to do is a little later on, I'm going to show you how to do that, because these are those disruptive people. Because I'm going to show you how Nolan helped create Steve, and by the way, Elon mimics Steve. I'm going to show you how all these are connected. Hang on for a second. Back to our disruptive companies. You know these 2 right here? Who owns them? Do you know? Yes, Elon Musk, yes. And I asked Elon a very simple question. I see him maybe twice a year. Simple question is this right here. 3 questions. What do you need to ask yourself? Because he asks himself questions all the time. And I thought that was interesting. So the first one is, what is your enemy? Now, in his business with Tesla, he has an enemy. And that's gas cars. That's poor efficiency. That he has enemies that he points at going, we're going to conquer that. In your businesses, in your office, what is your enemy? Don't say your boss. But what is your enemy? What are you trying to tackle, destroy? He asks himself this all the time. Next, what makes you you? What makes you you? What is your name? Susan. Susan. Hi, Susan. Hi there. What's your favorite animal?
A dog.
Give me 3 adjectives that describe a dog.
Fluffy, cute, and feisty.
Feisty. Okay, hold on to that. What's your name? Roland, what's your favorite animal?
Say panda.
Panda. Give me 3 adjectives that describe a panda.
Sleepy, tired, and mundane.
You sure you wanted to pick those?
Cute, furry, and cuddly.
Okay. Because generally we associate our favorite animals with ourselves. Really happy you changed that. Wow, you sound like my first wife. But I want you to understand that what makes you you? How do you identify yourself? How do you know who you are? And then you could ask this question, what's your superpower? What do you do that if you look around the room saying, this is what I do the best? This is what Elon asks himself about himself, his employees, and his businesses. How do you do that? All right, January, does anyone know what happened on this day? I got to tell you a story. So there's this event called CES, the Consumer Electronics Show. Everybody's in Las Vegas. There's 120,000 people in Las Vegas, and everybody walks out of the CES, not everybody, most people walked out of the CES Convention Center to go watch TV. Why would they watch TV? Because they turned on TV to go find this.
An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. An iPod, a phone. Are you getting it? These are not 3 separate devices. This is one device. and we are calling it iPhone.
What happened?
Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone.
I love that. Reinvent, disrupt, because that changed all of us, right? That, and I hate to use the word ballsy, that's a ballsy move what he did, because he put the entire company online, saying, we're going to basically gamble everything to launch this phone. And it's the majority of the revenue now. If you have a Mac, which I do, they don't really put any more effort into a Mac anymore. They haven't updated anything on all the other products. But the iPhone, they try to. They'll have something really cool for iPhone 8. Steve knows he had to disrupt himself constantly, over and over again. He had to disrupt himself going all the way back from the Macintosh, then the Lisa, then the printer industry, disrupt himself and his businesses over and over again.
The thing I would say is, when you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it. That's maybe the most important thing.
Someone else made what you use every single day, and they're not as smart as you in some cases. So why are they doing it and why aren't you? What's the difference between you and them? Well, let's talk about it real quick. I'm running out of time. I apologize. I just want to teach you this a quick couple of tricks. First, something I call speed to cool. We're in California. Who does not live in California? Why? Sorry. It's an awesome place. But I love that word cool. Maybe it's because of my age. But the goal is, if you can talk about what you do or what excites you and get a cool, you got somebody going, I'm interested. I'm leaning in. I want to know more. If you get somebody that says, kind of push away, you lost them. We call it an elevator pitch during the .com days. I say speed to cool. You need to learn to be able to say what you do very, very quickly. And by the way, when you go off and start doing your networking stuff, I hate this word. Because networking means plugging an Ethernet cable into here, making sure we have a good internet connection, making sure... No. I want to call it connecting. We need to learn to connect, because when we connect, we connect. I connect with Mark and Barbara. I connect with these people, because in 8 seconds, your brain does this. You can't stop it. If you want to network, this is what you're against. In 8 seconds, your brain goes, I'm looking at that person over there. I wonder, are they trustworthy? Are they high status? Are they gay? I'm wondering, do you think they're smart? Maybe I could get lucky with them. Are they dominant? Are they successful? Are they heading up? Are they adventurous? You can't stop your brain from thinking that when you look at somebody. It happens. So when you're networking, that's what you're against. But when you're connecting, you're circumventing it because you're talking and removing this. So you need to learn to do this. Blaise Pascal said it. I would have written your shorter letter if I had more time. Learn to condense what you're saying. I've talked to many of you today, and I fell asleep because it takes you too long to tell me what's going on and what excites you. Remember the old days when someone showed slides of their trip? Oh, my God. That's what happens with many of you. I know you're excited, but learn to get us excited by making it exciting, making your story tight and concise. Speed to cool. Let's see what else I could do real quick. By the way, when you ask a millennial what their goal in life is, they see two things. I want to make $1 billion and I want to be famous. That's what millennials say. I want to get on YouTube. No. This is what your goals should be, and they're very simple. I want you to start a business in your own business, meaning whoever you work for, create a very entrepreneurial spirit internally. I want you to have good personal development. I'll explain this. I want you to get physically healthy. I want you to create and maintain a loving relationship. Well, why? You know, growing a business, doing anything internal, It has a 95% rate of failure. Means if you do it successfully, you're on that 5% side. That's hard to do. You want to have personal development? Come on, 40% are depressed or have anxiety. Be healthy. Physically, 74% overweight or obese, and 55% of marriages and relationships end. If you could find the success side of every one of these, you are a success. This is where the building block of us is to have disruption. You can't become successful without really correcting these things. And it's true. This is our foundation. A couple of quick things last. I'm from this little teeny town called Orland Park. Actually, we're the golf center of the world. All of our water towers are golf balls on tees. It's crazy, right? Cog Hill's out there if you're a golf player. And I worked for my dad in the insurance industry. And I could never do well because my dad had all my friends as clients. It sucked. So I go, how am I going to get clients when I'm 22 years old? So every Tuesday morning, I would get people from unrelated businesses together at Denny's, because all you had to do was buy a cup of coffee. So I started this in 1988. 1988, 10 people. Every Tuesday, to this day, I go back there, there's 200 people at Denny's every Tuesday morning. They still do it. Because they found a purpose to come together. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to become an individual dominant influence. I'm almost done. And what that means is bring people together to help each other out. Become a part of the we, not the I. Where as a community you grow. That's how you become disruptive. John Paul DeGioia became disruptive is because he got part of a community he really loved. Elon Musk is the same thing. Peter Diamandis found that community. So how you do that is this. And by the way, that's like my metal community every Saturday. I get all these people together on Sundays and hike. I have changed the way I am because I found my group. And you do that by doing this. You gather great people together. It could be 10 people. 10 people. Just pick 10 people and bring them together. Don't do this as a, oh, let's complain and moan. No, let's talk about great things and how we change each other. You do a consistent and predictable schedule. It could be once a week, once a month, but do it consistently. You curate who the members are. Be careful who you bring in. One weed can create really bad weeds. And then last, what you do is you have a mission. Why are we together? We're doing it for this purpose. Oh, that's right. Did you know women are smarter than men? Did you guys know that? Did you women know that? Yeah, you didn't know that? Okay, well, it's true. More women are graduating from college. More women need to be part of your organizations. And you do because they're smarter. Matter of fact, I found this clip and it proves the point.
Dave, did you say you were going to make dinner? I couldn't remember. What?
I just wish you'd take some initiative and cook your own dinner for once. I've been at work too, you know, and now I get to come home and pack the dishwasher and then unpack the dishwasher and cook dinner and put the washing on, and you know what? I can't continue to live like this because it's not me.
Hey, relax. It's going to be all right.
How?
Here, I'll just show you. Okay, I've been doing this since we moved in. See this basket thing? I don't know how it happens, if it's the house or what, but any dirty clothes you put in this basket, somehow the next day they're just clean, folded, and in a perfect pile on your bed.
You're not serious.
I couldn't believe it at first either, but it just keeps happening. That's why I didn't tell you. I didn't want to jinx it.
You are insane.
Try it, you'll see. Unless it's only chosen me. See, I don't know.
I can't do this.
No, wait. There's other things too. Plates, cutlery, pizza boxes, dirty tissues, anything you leave on this coffee table just vanishes overnight. I mean, sometimes I'll see how far I can push this thing and I'll just leave shit everywhere. And then sure enough, the next day, it's all gone. It's just vanished. It's magic. No, she wouldn't have left me. This is what I think happened. I heard her get up in the middle of the night to get a drink or something. She must have fallen onto the magic coffee table and just vanished.
Are you insane?
No, he's not insane. I've got the same coffee table at home.
All right. Last thing real quick. This is the 1929 quantum physics conference that got together. To 1929, you probably know two people. You might know Albert Einstein and Madame Curie. Of these 29, everybody here before this event, they were nobodies. They were nobodies. 39. Of these 39, after they got together, after they were all together, 19 of them won a Nobel Prize. because they found a way to connect, come together, and create greatness. And that's what I ask of you. Find a way to come together, disrupt one another, and create greatness together. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.